Step into the shadowy world of unsolved mysteries and discover the chilling secrets that lie within the streets of Boston. From the notorious crimes that shook the city to its core to the baffling disappearances that have left investigators scratching their heads. These cases have stood the test of time and continue to haunt those who dare to seek the truth. As we delve into the murky waters of these unsolved mysteries, we'll examine new leads, uncover long-buried evidence, and explore the enigmatic clues that have left even the most seasoned detectives perplexed. But be warned, as we venture deeper into these unsolved cases, we may uncover dark secrets that some would prefer to keep hidden. So, join us as we journey through the darkest corners of Boston's history and uncover the truth that has remained hidden for far too long. First, let's discuss the murder of Karina Holmer. Karina Holmer seemed to have the whole world at her feet in March 1996. She was a member of a pony club and the Swedish counterpart of the Girl Scouts, while she was growing up in the little town of Skillinget, which was 150 miles from Stockholm. Karina was content in her idyllic rural life, but she yearned to travel. When she won $1,500 on the lottery, it looked as if her dreams had come true. She made the decision to go to the US with the money and chose Boston as her destination. She managed to get employment in an au pair for Frank Rapp and Suzanne Nichter in Dover despite not having a formal visa. They had 2 young children to look after and he worked as a commercial photographer. Karina looked to be the ideal match with her upbeat disposition and kind temperament. After spending her working week taking care of the family, she accepted the position and began spending her weekends exploring the city and having fun with other international au pairs at the city's many nightclubs. Karina would use Frank's studio apartment in the Fort Point neighborhood of Boston as a base for these excursions to avoid having to go back to Dover. On the evening of June 21st, 1996, Karina had visited the club Zanzibar with a few friends. She had presented a phony ID to the bouncers at the entrance even though she wasn't nearly old enough to enter and consume alcohol. Unfortunately, things began to go awry at some point in the evening. In the days before smartphones, it was simple for the young Swedish to lose sight of her friends. She was also quite inebriated. She apparently slept off in the restroom at one point and she was then asked to leave by the doorman. Later, maybe about 3 a.m., a witness observed Karina outdoors at the Boylston and Tremont crossroads. She may have left Zanzibar alone or with another person, but it's unclear since she has been seen in several places, including standing on the street, sitting in a car, and cautiously strolling to an alleyway. The last known sighting of Karina Holmer would turn out to be this one. A homeless guy was rummaging through garbage bags on June 23, 1996, in the Back Bay neighborhood of Boston. Trying to discover cans that he could recycle for a few bucks, he was shocked to see a woman's partially buried corpse lying in the garbage. According to the Boston Globe, Karina Holmer had been murdered and the lower half of her corpse was gone. The corpse had been severed from the other half by only one bone at the spine, leading the Boston Police Department to believe the murder may have been committed by someone with previous expertise or knowledge of butchery. Investigators were unable to determine the precise location of the murder and dismemberment, since this hadn't been done at the crime scene. They speculated that the murderer may have been attempting to hide a sexual offense or even a possible pregnancy, other than ligature marks around Karina's neck, which suggested that she'd been strangled, and a partial fingerprint on one of the black bags that didn't match anything in the system. No additional evidence was found. A letter Karina sent to her friend back in Sweden only a few weeks before she passed away provided another intriguing hint that maybe things weren't going as well as she had anticipated in the States. She didn't specify what had occurred, just that something dreadful had happened, and she was always anxious. Since Karina was feeling lonely and no longer wanted to live the au pair lifestyle, she even made plans to return home that August. Regrettably, even this lead didn't work out. One of the state of Massachusetts' longest-running unsolved crimes, the case fell cold and has remained that way ever since. In the 25 years after the murder, there have been undoubtedly many speculations, with some suggesting that Karina may have been the victim of a serial murderer traveling through Boston. Some rumors claim that Karina's employer may have been responsible for her death and that they slept together in secret in the studio apartment while she wasn't working. Herbert Witten, a local who was caught on video conversing with Karina the night she vanished, was also another person of interest. A speeding ticket caused him to be somewhere else around the time of the incident. Thus, authorities ruled him out as a murder suspect even though he committed himself a year later. A guy who claimed to have seen Karina sitting in a vehicle with two men just before she disappeared offered the last piece of the puzzle. He said that after discovering her pals, he had attempted to get her to return home with them, but had been rebuffed by the unknown strangers. Next, we will talk about the great theft of the Plymouth mail truck. Patrick Shenner, the truck driver, and William Barrett, his guard, were traveling down the roadway that connects Cape Cod to the rest of Massachusetts, and ultimately the city of Boston at approximately 8 o'clock in the evening. The journey had been routine up until this point, and they were carrying extra cash, registered mail, and receipts from several of the Cape's post offices. Barrett saw a policeman waving them down as they approached Plymouth, a famous seaside town. According to Barrett, who was speaking to the Fitchburg Sentinel at the time, the two dutifully halted, thinking there could have been an accident up ahead. Once the truck had stopped, two vehicles suddenly erupted from the side of the road and blocked it. Two guys told Barrett and Shenner to get out of the truck and into the rear, while pointing what seemed to be rifles through the truck's windows. According to the Sentinel, the hijackers used highway diversion signs to impede traffic and make it simpler for their small convoy to flee the murder scene. Before arriving at the town of Randolph, which was some 25 miles distant, Barrett said the vehicle made multiple stops to deposit the stolen money. On Route 128, a major thoroughfare that connects the north and south beaches, Boston and the Massachusetts Turnpike to New York State, the truck was abandoned and the prisoners were eventually set free. The armed theft became major news the following day, with the front page of the Sentinel calling the crime a caper that would have made a television writer happy. The news reported that the loot may have exceeded $42 million at first, so nobody was certain exactly how much money the gang had taken. Barrett told reporters there could have been 4 thieves, but investigators subsequently said there might have been as many as 7. Details were hazy. Significantly, authorities told the media that the cash had already been transported to the Federal Reserve by an armored vehicle. Nevertheless, central Cape Cod banks had only 3 weeks previously implemented a new procedure that entailed transporting the money, utilizing the post office and straightforward vehicles. On August 16th, William F. Goulet, a representative of the post office department who would have been aboard the truck but was on vacation, told the Sentinel that he believed one of the thieves could have been aware that the truck sometimes carried up to $2 million. The authorities finally sounded an alert for 5 men and 1 woman thought to have been engaged in the crime based on eyewitness accounts and police activity. The lady was believed to have been in charge of stopping the flow of traffic on the highway so that the heist could go 4 miles higher up without interruption. Just the names Tony and Buster as possible candidates for the men's names were known to the investigators. Washington still said that if necessary it would deploy its whole 1,000-person squad of postal inspectors to Massachusetts to solve the issue. The oldest investigative service in the country, Chief Postal Inspector Henry B. Montague, was chosen in the end. He rushed directly to Boston to take control of the situation since he had a 99% conviction history for mail-related offenses. The FBI's 10 most wanted offenders, Albert Nussbaum and Bowie Wilcoxon, 2 known bank robbers, were at first suspected of being responsible for the theft. The Desert Sun stated on August 15th that the investigators thought the 2 men's strategy was similar to the Plymouth's case, and that both had reportedly been seen in the area. In fact, the 2 had robbed a number of banks with firearms drawn beginning in 1960, and they had submachine guns in their possession. The Great Plymouth Mail Truck robbery was not mentioned in conjunction with their subsequent arrest and conviction for their crimes. After almost 5 years, neither the FBI nor the United States Postal Inspection Service were able to advance the Plymouth investigation despite intensive efforts made across New England. For information leading to a conviction, they even offered massive incentives of $150,000 plus $50,000 from the Postmaster General, stating that any suspect slain in the course of the chase would be declared convicted for the purposes of the reward. Naturally, this first caused a state of near hysteria, but as the weeks and months went by, this began to subside. The authorities indicted 4 men and 1 woman in front of a federal grand jury for the crime in what seemed to be a last-ditch effort as the 5-year statute of limitations date drew near. John Red Jack Kelly, George W. Aggie Agisotelis, Joseph C. Tripoli, Thomas R. Richards, and Patricia Diafario were the suspects. Richards, Kelly, and Diafario were targeted by the probe in particular, and they were later freed on bail, awaiting a complete investigation. U.S. Marshals inspected their homes and found a .45 caliber gun, a bulletproof vest, and $350 in cash, which is roughly $3,000 in today's currency. Kelly was known for working for a Boston family involved in organized crime and was no stranger to criminality. When the case was ready to go to trial and it seemed that the police could be making progress, Richards abruptly vanished while en route to his job as an electrician. He was supposed to show there as the prosecutor's witness, which required him to give a deposition condemning the other accused. Several people thought he had been murdered in order to stop him from accusing the others while testifying and singing like a canary. The prosecution's case against the other accused then seemed to crumble. D'Affario had been accused of being the big-bosomed blonde seen directing motorists off the highway during the heist, the Kentucky New Era newspaper reported on November 11, 1967. But D'Affario was requested to put on a tight blue sweater and stand sideways in front of the witness stand. Eyewitness Angus Perry said he may have been incorrect in his judgment of breast size when questioned whether he was certain this was the lady he had seen that day. Both D'Affario and Kelly were cleared of involvement in the heist after testifying against the crime boss. Kelly finally entered the federal witness protection program and passed away in 2000 from natural causes. Big Vinny Teresa, a legendary mobster, alleged in his book My Life in the Mafia that Red Kelly had planned the theft in exchange for 80 cents on the dollar when the money was laundered, but this was never verified. The Dunbar armored robbery overtook the Great Plymouth postal truck robbery in 1997 to become the largest cash heist in American history. The $1.5 million haul, or almost $13 million in today's currency, has never been found by the police, and the mystery surrounding it has never been resolved. Thank you for watching our exploration of the unsolved cases of Boston. We hope our investigation has shed new light on these enigmatic mysteries. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to our channel for more thrilling content. We'll see you in the next video.